AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride! Woo!
Hour 3, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Muse and Paul are back in studio. We're here at Radio Row, SEC Football Media Days, Day 2 wrapping up, but had a chance a bit ago to visit with Marty Smith, who really needs no introduction to the SEC football fan, but there's really only one. I had a very, very limited window to talk to Marty because he had a heart out because he had to go interview Kirby Smart, but I had to get him to talk about chasing Lane Kiffin around in Oxford the week of that weekend of Thanksgiving when everything was happening, and Marty didn't disappoint. Here's our conversation. Our coverage continues from Radio Row here at SEC Football Media Days Day 2. Very pleased to be joined by Marty Smith of ESPN. How are you, sir?
Baton Rouge. I'm great, man. It's been a great week already. You know, Ryan McGee and I get the great blessing of sitting across from all 16 coaches, a dozen star players, and the commissioner, and just really diving into these 20, 30-minute conversations about life. And it's not lost on us. What an incredible blessing that is. And I know you want to talk about Kiff. Yes. I can't wait to sit across from that guy.
What do you think? You've gotten to talk to him. I think he's always he's a very calculated person, I think.
Smart.
What do you think his objective will be this week?
I think Lane thrives in chaos. I think that part of his objective will be to promote LSU as the premier destination for college football in the country. That seems to have been his narrative since he's gotten there. It's just different. Mm-hmm. And that's smart on his part. I'll be most intrigued to learn what he has learned about himself since he left Oxford for Baton Rouge, because they aren't the same job. Mm-hmm. He built, I'm starting to kind of get the shakes thinking about being back there and, on Thanksgiving weekend, and
we're about to go there,
waiting on his decision. But, it's such a different job at LSU. It just is. And I was on the record very loudly when he was still in the process of making his decision, or had not yet announced it, might be a better way to articulate it, that if I were him, I can't see why he would have left. I don't understand it, and here's the why. You go, okay, you've built a national championship caliber team, which is true, in Oxford, Mississippi. It's the greatest era of Ole Miss football ever. For the first time in 132 years of Rebel football, they won 11 regular season games when they beat State in the Egg Bowl. If you continue this and do win a national title, they're going to be babies named Lane from Gulfport to Olive Branch. There's going to be a statue outside. But the facts are, he found peace in himself. He found himself in Oxford. He found sobriety, which was huge for Lane. Mm-hmm. He just, and now he goes, okay, that's all wonderful. That's all true. But I have a greater chance to win a national title in Baton Rouge. And so after conversations with Coach Saban, Coach Carroll, he decided, I'm going to go to Baton Rouge. And if you look at the Tigers on paper, it's insane, the talent.
Yeah.
I mean, so I do think it's going to be there for him. I think he's going to have the opportunity to win a national title in Baton Rouge. And I know y'all are starved for it. It's been 6 years. The 2019 Tigers, by the way, are the greatest college football team of all time.
It's not even close, actually. Nope. People like to talk about 01 Miami, but I actually did a podcast with Brian Clark and Clinton Portis, who was on the 01 team years ago, and we went position by position, and it's actually not even remotely close. Marty Smith is with us. I want to go back to Thanksgiving weekend because you did have you were the one person who had the vantage point you had. So you said when Lane announced that he was leaving, when did he decide?
I think he decided well before he announced it. Now I say well before. I'm not talking week. I'm not talking like a massive increment of time, but I think he knew, and he wasn't ready to tell the world because he desperately wanted to coach Ole Miss in the playoff.
Yeah,
which is truly like an asinine assertion.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Just that doesn't work.
Keith
Carter could never allow that. They would run Keith out of Oxford if that were allowed. And so I understand why Lane felt that way. I built this team. This team responds to me, the whole thing. And then Pete went and won a couple college football playoff games with those guys. And so I would say, man, he's never, I don't know that specifically from Kiff. But if I was guessing, I would say days.
How did you get the? I know you've told the story about the van getting the interview on the tarmac. Like you got the interview on the tarmac. Like how did that happen? Did you know? Like walk me through that day. How came to pass?
No, there was no knowing. So if I walk you through that day, I kind of have to back up to the night before because that was when I was kind of stranded on, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and I'm doing live shots on every show, and I feel like I know that he's leaving. And so as the day progressed, I just started, as a reporter, it's our job to be accurate. That's the number one job, is to be accurate. And so until I got told by 3 sources he's gone, I wasn't willing to. Once I got to that place and I'm getting texts from very well established and positioned people, I'm like, okay, I think he's gone. I got all the way to like halftime of Stanford and Notre Dame, I think it was. Like it's 10:30 at night. And I learned that there was going to be a team meeting at 9 a.m. where Lane was going to address the team and then announce his decision. Go on TV and say that. Go to bed for a little while. We got into the parking lot at the Manning Center at 6 o'clock in the morning for a 9 a.m. meeting. God is my witness. Security guard comes over in a little like Impala. And he goes, "Hey, Marty, good morning. My name's Bubba."
Bubba.
Honest to God, my name's Bubba.
Of course it was.
He's one of the security guys at the Manning Center. Ole Miss, one of Ole Miss's police force. Awesome dude. He goes, "I just want you to know, man, they moved that meeting to 1. I went, "Bubba," and I said a few choice words. He goes, "I'm serious, man." So I start texting everybody, like, "Is this true?" It wound up being true. 1 o'clock, we get there. Players are filing in their, F-150 Raptors, and they're like, it's these kids are anyway.
The NIL
they got nicer trucks than I got. And so they do the meeting. Out walks. The meeting was like 10 minutes. Out walks players. And one of them, who's a prominent player, looked right at me and said, "Marty, it's the Pete Golding era." And I went, "Does that mean interim? Does that mean full-time?" So I'm blowing up everybody. Find out it's full-time. I then go to Kiff. I'm blowing up Kiff. "Where am I meeting you? I have to get this interview. We'll do it at the Super 8. We'll do it at the Graduate. I'll rent an Airbnb right now. We can go to your house, the Waffle House. I don't give a damn. I got to get you." And crickets. So we start tracking the airplanes. We start tracking Virgin, those guys. And the planes originally were going to Tupelo.
You should have called me.
I know I should have called you. Exactly. Long story short, we realized that they're going to Oxford. We go to Oxford Airport. I'm trying to be quick here. We go to Oxford Airport, and I'm standing at the very front of the Oxford Air FBO. I'm not letting him get by us without me seeing him. I'm calling him. Finally, he calls me and goes, Oxford Airport, 3:00. I'm like, dude, I'm standing in front. You won't miss me. He gets there. He's like, where are you at? I'm like, I'm in front of the airport. He goes, oh, there's an entrance a mile down the road. And then we got in the van and you guys know it from doing Pat's show, but honest to God, I'm on the phone with him driving this bread truck van. He's like, you're going to see the fire department. When you see the fire department, take a lift. I don't see no damn fire department. There, and my producer, Luis, is like, there it is. I bang this left, and there are fire trucks and law enforcement just blocking the entrance. I bombed this thing off in the field, and honest to goodness, there's like a snow plow and a bush hog, and there's people flying around. We get up there, and he goes, we get out, and he's laughing. He's like, dude, you really are Scooby-Doo.
That's so good.
And we did the interview, and I will tell you this, in the aftermath of that, whether it is the Masters tournament, the PGA Championship, the Kentucky Derby this week, everywhere I go, people want to hear about that moment.
I appreciate you sharing it with us.
Insane. Just insanity. And I'll say one last thing, and I got to interview Kirby Smart right now, but at SEC coaches meetings, I happened upon Kiff and Golding together, and we had a funny little conversation about all of that will be in a book someday. So there you go.
Last time we talked to you was when we were promoting your book, so make sure you pick up Marty's book. You're very generous with your time. You've done an amazing thing in that in an industry where nobody is universally liked, you are someone who's universally liked, which I think speaks to you, your personality, your energy, zest for life, and we appreciate a couple of minutes.
Thank you for having me. Grateful. And I love your Jays. Those things are clean, bro.
Best compliment I've gotten all day.
I love you, Baton Rouge. We'll see you week 1.
Oh man, Marty Smith complimenting my Jordans on the way out. By the way, I'll show you for those who happen to be watching along. There they are right there. Little denim 2-tone blue, actually 3-tone blue. J high tops. Got to bring it. You got to bring it here on Radio Row at SEC Football Media Days. Appreciate Marty Smith. By the way, okay, I have a thought on the Marty Smith convo. I'm gonna come back to you. Let me remind you. FMOL Health, Our Lady of the Lake, championship health partner of LSU Athletics. Our friends over at the Lake, incredible. I trust the Lake. My family, Drew, we go to Our Lady of the Lake Children's Hospital. He sees a GI doc. He sees a neurologist there. My own personal physician, Dr. Curtis Chastain, Our Lady of the Lake Men's Health Group. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter if it's pediatric care, if it's I cannot wait for the ribbon cutting just a few weeks back on the world-class Our Lady of the Lake Cancer Center. If it's heart health, stroke, you don't have to leave Baton Rouge to get world-class care. Our Lady of the Lake, championship health partner of LSU Athletics. FMOLhealth.org/LSU. FMOLhealth.org/LSU to learn more. People often ask, Lane Kiffin, Pete Golding, do they get along? Are they fighting? Are they feuding? What you just heard Kirby, or you heard, Marty say at the meetings that he, Lane, Pete Golding all had a funny moment. Like Lane talks oftentimes about the text groups, the text message groups. I think it is possible to be rivals on the field and get along, and I think Lane Kiffin and Pete Golding get along just fine. Okay, it's after further review. Let me knock out a quick break here. We'll come back. Had a chance as well to visit with our buddy Chris Doering of the SEC Network, get his thoughts on Lane Kiffin's move to LSU and the comments Jordan Rogers made that it's championship or bust for Lane Kiffin here at year 1 at LSU. Doering reacts to that. You'll hear it next. Stay here. It's AFR.
After further review.
We're brought to you by Clegg's Nursery, 4 locations in the greater Baton Rouge area. Seagan near Airline, LA 16 in Denham. Mid-City on Don Moore, Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. Tell you every day, buy local, shop local. Go see our friends over at Clegg's Nursery. We just had Drew's birthday party this past weekend. If it's, those summer days hanging out by the pool, or if it's just because you want to get out, get a little exercise, man, just plant something. Get in the garden, get your hands dirty. As they say, you touch grass, it's real. Grounding's a real thing. Get your hands in the dirt, connect with nature, get outside, get some vitamin D from the sun. Great opportunity, man, to do something with your children. Plant a garden, a vegetable garden. Grow, natural vegetables in your backyard. Incredible that you could do with your kids. A fun activity. It's life lessons, it's exercise, it's awesome. It's Clegg's Nursery. You can do it all for you. You got Johnny Naylor seeds, you got beautiful flowers. Check them out. Buy local, shop local. Clegg's Nursery.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Live from the 2026 SEC Football Media Days in Tampa. Presented by FMOL Health, Our Lady of the Lake, Relief Windows, Rev Fiber, and Parish Construction and Roofing.
Our Chris Doering, SEC Network, good enough to hang out with us here for a couple of minutes. How are you?
I'm great, man. It's always good to see you, Matt. In person, we talk a lot during the season, but face-to-face means we're here again and about to kick off another season.
Hey, man, everybody is talking about Lane. You guys, especially working for the network, I mean, you get to know him and see him and talk to him. By the way, he didn't participate in the coaches, the thing you and Peter are doing.
Yeah, the project that we are doing is the 6 coaches that are new to their respective schools in the SEC. Knocked out 5 of them, but we didn't get to get Lane. And
why?
I don't know. I don't know if his schedule was too busy or what. Obviously it was something we wanted to do. It didn't work out from a timing standpoint, but more what we wanted to do was serve the fan base, is to understand who these people are outside of the coaching side of things, the people. And Lane kind of to himself a lot, so maybe he was a little resistant. I don't know.
So we are all, you can appreciate that. We are all still getting to know Lane Kiffin.
How is your access in Baton Rouge?
So in spring, he gave us incredible access to practice. Mm-hmm. I mean, Chris, we got to watch full practices,
which is unheard of now.
I don't think most people really understand.
Yeah.
Like media, maybe you get like 15
Warm-ups.
minutes of stretch and like in Tiger Stadium, 2-hour scrimmage, come watch the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Don't take video, but come watch the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Like that's incredible. But Lane still has not done a single local media interview with anybody. So my point is, it's his program, it's his prerogative. He can do what he wants. But we're all still trying to get to know him. So you've known him and covered him for a long time. So give me your perspective. I say, man, if you were to describe Lane Kiffin to somebody, what would you say?
I would have to say that
Look at that face.
I would say I've come to get a great relationship with him. I would say that there are a lot of layers to Lane Kiffin. There's things that have been able to relate very well with him on. I don't know if it's an issue when that, I was a Florida guy and there was a time that he was maybe coming to Florida and it didn't work out or what, but man, I respect the hell out of his offensive genius. I mean, when Coach Saban talks about a guy and puts up with some of the things he had to because of what Lane could do offensively, respect the hell out of that, what he's done. I mean, even the Ole Miss thing, like he took Ole Miss to heights that they never would have been. Was the exit executed the way that I would have done it? Probably not, but you can't begrudge a guy for going to do something in a place that he wants to go do it in. But I just think he's a very diverse guy with some different nuance to him than most of us have. But I think he's intriguing as well. For a couple week period of time, that was what everybody was talking about. Forget the SEC world, the sports world. That was like a human interest story across all social media.
He's never boring, which is amazing for us, right? But I want to ask, like, former All-American wide receiver Chris Doering played in the NFL. I want to talk to that guy for a second about Lane. You just said he's a brilliant offensive mind. Why? Like, nerd out on me a little bit. What makes him so good offensively?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a couple different things, from understanding defenses and how think about his dad was one of the best defensive minds around, and so understanding what defenses are doing, where they're vulnerable, and how to draw plays up that put them in binds or take advantage of. Every defense has a place that you go to attack it. That's one of the things I think I learned from Coach Spurrier very well was, all right, this coverage. Here's where we're going to attack it. And I don't know that there's many people that see things the way that Coach Spurrier does, but when I watch Lane Kiffin on the sideline, when he's throwing the play sheet up before the plays, he knows exactly what's coming. He understands what tendencies and the vulnerabilities that defenses have. I think that he sees things in a very different way than a lot of people do.
It's astonishing when I look at some of the offenses at Ole Miss that, I mean, CD, you're talking about top 10 offenses in America, all but 1 year that he was at Ole Miss, or maybe it was top 12. Either way, point is that they were all elite, but a lot of those offenses didn't even put players into the NFL. Like Jackson Dart was a first-rounder quarterback, but outside of Dart, the offense 2 years ago didn't have another guy drafted. Mm-hmm. So what do you think is the talent difference from what he had at Ole Miss to what he will have at LSU? I mean, what's the possibility there?
Well, I think the talent has improved significantly in Oxford towards the end of his time there. And with the collective, I think the Grove Collective is one of the best collectives around in the SEC. So they've been able to build that roster and retain the roster a lot better than a lot of other schools have. But I mean, LSU's shown that they're all in. One of the things I thought was interesting, Jordan Rodgers said yesterday, was that with all the allocation of money to this year, that it's championship or bust, the championship game or bust. I would disagree a little bit. To me, it's playoff or bust, but I think the expectation is incredibly high. And it's not you don't get that ramp up period anymore because of the need for the instant return on investment, because of what Cignetti did at Indiana. Like, you don't have the luxury of building a program, nor do I think Lane wants to make an excuse for that. I think he expects to go to the playoff in year one.
Bro, Cignetti ruined it for
everyone, right? Yeah.
Like,
at Indiana, the losingest program in the history of football until last year.
What's your excuse?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm doing it in Indiana. So Clark Lee doing it at Vanderbilt. I mean, 10 wins last year at Vanderbilt to do it in the league's crazy.
I was listening to you and Peter earlier today a bit. Y'all were kind of peeling back the layer a little bit. It is interesting because I think we all assume Vandy's going to step back without Pavia. Yeah. I don't know a thing about Jared Curtis. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just know he was
I don't think any of us do outside of that. He was a 5-star coming out, flipped from Georgia to Vanderbilt, which was unprecedented.
Right. Welcome to the NIL era. But do you think Clark Lee will sustain success at Vanderbilt? I'm not saying he's going to keep winning 10-2, but can he sustain?
I think they can sustain. I've always felt like Vanderbilt, underachieved in a couple different things. Like, Nashville's a tremendous sports town. You look at when the Titans went there, how passionate that fan base became out of nowhere, or the Predators. Like, you give them a reason to come out, watch games in a stadium, the renovated stadium. I haven't been there yet. I don't know if you've seen it in person.
Yeah, I was there last year.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like a totally different situation, right? So
they had freaking condos in the end zone, CD. It's incredible.
You can bring in people that aren't necessarily Vanderbilt associated fans. Secondly, you're in a metropolitan area like Nashville where these guys were superstars in that city.
Yeah.
So you got money that maybe some of the other smaller college towns in the SEC don't have. So I think you can build a roster, but also you go look, the defense has a lot of returning starters on it. They understand how to build an offensive line. You get receiver, running backs back. I mean, there's a lot of talent around. If they can figure out the Jared Curtis aspect of it this year, I think they have a chance to, again, have a very, very good season. And, take this with a grain of salt, but I think Vanderbilt has a more manageable schedule than some SEC teams do.
Yeah. It's Vandy and Georgia have the two by statistically, quote unquote, weakest schedule. I mean, there was no such thing as an easy schedule in the SEC, but Chris Doering is with, by the way, did you see Junior Sherrill earlier today?
I haven't met him in person yet, no.
He was wearing no sleeves.
Was he?
I've never seen that at media days ever.
Well, was it his official media day outfit?
Yeah. He had a bow tie.
Oh, really?
And in a chain, so he had a lot of the drip, but no sleeves.
Because we had Clark Lee on TV, and I was like, "Bro, you dressed down this year?" He goes, I'm actually going to go change before we come up.
The golf shirt on.
a sleeveless shirt with chains is not associated with Vanderbilt, but I think that's part of changing the narrative of who Vanderbilt is now, right?
Short on time. I want to ask you about the Gators. I wish I paid more attention to John Summerall at Tulane.
Here's the problem for you, all right, and the rest of the SEC. You guys, you're not going to help yourself but like John Summerall. Like,
this is my point, CD. Like at the end of when it started, when Kelly got fired, and I started to pay attention, like this could happen with Summerall, and they went all in. We know what happened, but like, I love John Summerall.
Yeah.
I'm like, why didn't I pay more attention covering this guy when he was at Tulane?
The ironic part about it is, too, the jobs that came open during this cycle, you know, a couple of them Coach Summerall had been at. Kentucky hates the fact that Summerall's at Florida, and you know they got a great one at Will Stein, but you know they love him up there. He was in Oxford for a period of time. If not Pete Golding, they would have loved to have had Summerall there. Everybody in Gainesville was all in on Lane Kiffin, and I think they've quickly seen that sometimes, you know, the old Garth Brooks song, "Thank God for Unanswered Prayers."
Yeah.
You get the guy that you need, not necessarily that you want.
It's going to be, if this is the way I'd say it, if John Summerall had ended up the LSU coach, I would have been pumped about that.
You would have been pumped after you got to know him a little bit more, because I think, you know, everybody in Gainesville, he's got the same sort of resume as Billy Napier does. Yeah. These dudes are two totally different dudes. And I say this too, the staff that Florida's put together is a much more accomplished, much more diverse staff, I think, than the previous one that was built under Billy Napier.
Okay, real quick before we go, I asked this to Peter Burns. I'll ask you, what's your favorite cereal?
Man, I've gone a more healthy cereal now.
As a kid.
Raisin Bran.
Raisin Bran was your
I liked it. My parents wouldn't buy me sugary cereal. I probably I had Honey Smacks back. It used to be Sugar Smacks, and it became Honey Smacks as a marketing kind of twist. I did go with that.
The little frog on the thing.
Yeah, the frog.
Oh, dude, as a former fat kid, I ate every fat cereal you could imagine.
No, I like that.
All over
but I try to get the organic cereals now.
Saturday morning cartoon. What was your favorite?
Scooby-Doo. The old Scooby-Doo before Scrappy-Doo. Scrappy-Doo came in and ruined the whole thing, but Scooby-Doo, where they're solving mysteries and the whole thing, that was my deal.
The Mystery Machine.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
How much you bench?
Man, I haven't. I still think I could rep 225 a couple times.
So you don't bench much?
I don't max out bench much.
Yeah.
No.
I haven't maxed out probably since high school.
Well, we shouldn't be maxing out at this point. You know, it's not good for our joints.
I'd be curious just to see.
What's the do you deadlift or hang clean?
No, I have awful chronic back issues. So anything weight bearing is really. I do mostly body weight. Like I do 1 million push-ups, but like
I try to move heavy weight because it stimulates the growth hormone. Like I'm trying to stay young.
Growth hormone and for neurological benefits.
Yeah.
Lift heavy weights. Incredible.
Yeah. Grip strength too. You know what? Last year in our Sirius XM room, we had the grip strength test, and Commissioner Sankey didn't like the way he performed last year. Today's like, where's the thing? I've been practicing. I went and got one. He's been working on that. Evidently, grip strength is a determining factor on longevity in life.
Grip strength. So too are the strength of your feet, believe it or not.
Really?
And your toes. You know, we're nerding out now. You should be able to command your toes, be able to spread your toes. Did you know that?
Yeah, I don't know that I can.
And did you know, probably from wearing cleats all your life, did you know that your toes should be the widest part of your foot?
Really?
But we all wear shoes that taper. And
my feet are devastated because I would wear the cleats that were similar to soccer cleats, and you cutting and jamming, and my toenails are terrible. Just disasters. It's not good.
You need to let them puppies breathe.
I know.
You got to let those dogs bark. Yeah. Let them out for a little bit. You're the man.
Yeah, appreciate you, man.
Thanks,
Matty.
Chris Doering. Chris Doering, SEC Network, Gator great. Boy, did he wreck LSU when he was at Florida. But great perspective on the SEC, great energy. Love having Chris Doering. We appreciate the time. We're brought to you by the Williamson Eye Center, 924-2020. 924-2020. You want to see 2020? Call 924-2020 for the Williamson Eye Center. I saw a post today, y'all. Dr. Blake, I tell you this all the time. He goes all over the world to lecture. I saw this post on the Williamson Eye Center socials earlier today. Dr. Blake is in Australia. He's one of 8. I want to make sure I have this correct. Here it is. One of 8 surgeons representing the United States of America at the Australian Society of Cataract and Refractive Surgeons. He lectured during the lens knockout rounds on the Odyssey toric intraocular lens for cataract and lens replacement surgery, which he was the first surgeon in the world to implant after its commercial release. I tell you all the time, man. Like, you literally have the best in the world in Baton Rouge and Dr. Blake Williamson. So they fly him down to Australia to go present at this conference because he was the first in the world to do this procedure. He's the best. Williamson Eye Center. 924-2020. 924-2020 or WilliamsonEye.com. Williamson, EYE.com. All right, y'all. Glad you're hanging out with us here on this Tuesday edition of AFR. We roll along from Radio Row at SEC Football Media Days. The only school we've yet to talk about so far today is Vanderbilt. We knocked out South Carolina, Georgia, and Auburn. We'll get to Vandy when we come back, and then we'll also make sure we preview day 3 before we get out of here. Stick around with us here as we roll along in hour number 3 from Radio Row at SEC Football Media Days.
After further review.
Hey, if you're thinking of putting in a pool, I want you to call my friends over at Duplessis Pools. DuplessisPools.com, DuplessisPools.com, or you better yet just go to the website, DuplessisPools.com. Start there. It's an awesome. The interface on the website is just so user-friendly. And honestly, even if you're not thinking about putting in a pool, it's just a really cool thing to go do. Like, there's the pick your pool option right there on the homepage. Select which of the 11 designs you like the best, and then just start picking out all of your features, and it'll build it for you in a 3D model like that. It's at DuplessisPools.com, DuplessisPools.com. You can even work out finance. You can pay for it right there. You can get on the schedule right there within 5 minutes. Go to the website, DuplessisPools.com. Derek Duplessis and his team voted a top 50 pool builder in America for the second consecutive year, the only Louisiana pool builder to receive that recognition. DuplessisPools.com, DuplessisPools.com.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Live from the 2026 SEC Football Media Days in Tampa, presented by FMOL Health, Our Lady of the Lake, Relief Windows, Rev Fiber, and Parish Construction and Roofing.
Let me be clear. Progress is not the destination. Last season was not an arrival. It was simply another step in the climb. Our objective remains what it's always been, to build the best football program in the country. And while progress is encouraging, complacency is dangerous. The moment we turn to protect the ground we've covered, we stop our pursuit of what's possible at Vanderbilt. We must be willing to risk what we are for what we could become.
Clark Lee taking his turn earlier on Tuesday in the main room. Not the greatest orator, but incredibly impressive in a different kind of way. My first extensive one-on-one interaction with Clark Lee was when we were in Houston for the Bryant Awards, and he sat down with us on the show and really enjoyed the conversation. But when I heard that Clark Lee cut, I couldn't help but think of what we talked about when Clark Lee had his first ever SEC Media Days in 2021. And it was the last year we were in Hoover, and he talked about Vanderbilt being the best job in the country. And I probably audibly laughed because Vanderbilt is not the best job in the country. It's one of the worst jobs in the country. But in his mind, that's always been the mindset. And what's so interesting, too, about the arc of Clark Lee at Vanderbilt, that first year they went 2-10, 0-8 in the conference. And then he went 5-7. And it's like, okay, well, look at this. And the thought was, okay, then the next year, can they get to a bowl eligibility? They didn't. They backslid. They went 2-10, 0-8 in the league. And so they went 2-10, 0-8 to 5-7 to 2-10, 0-8 again. And there was a lot of thought at that point that after that 2-10 season, a second winless season in 3 years, that Vandy may move on. But they stuck with it. And most importantly, they brought in Diego Pavia. And in 2024, they went 6-6, won the Birmingham Bowl, upset Alabama. We all know the story. And then from there, they built and went 10-2 a season ago, lost the ReliaQuest Bowl to finish 10-3. But now you look and you go, okay, what is life like now without Diego Pavia? And that's what Clark Lee was asked earlier today.
I think there's so much attention being given right now to how this offense will take shape, specifically who's going to take the snaps. And though that is an important question, what I'm more interested in ahead of training camp is how is this team strengthening in all the other areas that will support that position. So the mission is winning. That certainly hasn't changed. So what are we going to do defensively? How are we going to perform better on third down to generate more possessions, to get opportunity to an offense that I know is going to have the ability to move the ball? Offensive line play. I think we replaced a lot of snaps with a lot of snaps, and I think we feel really good right now about where that group is. How are they going to win the point of attack and establish a line of scrimmage dominance that allows for this run game to get going? Because Cedi Alexander and MK Young are two of the best, most talented backs in our conference. And if all of a sudden these things are falling into place and we're strengthening in those other areas, you've just lifted burden off the guy that's taking the snaps.
The conversation, of course, is going to be about the guys taking the snaps. And that's very likely going to be five-star freshman Jared Curtis, who flipped from Georgia to Vanderbilt. Only possible in the NIL era. In no other reality would a five-star quarterback flip from Georgia to Vanderbilt. But that's the world that we live in, and that's why Indiana can win a national championship, why Vanderbilt can win 10 games, and why sustained success at Vanderbilt feels possible. And you talked about the running game there. Remember, Vanderbilt has the weird thing where they cross-train their offensive linemen. They'd switch sides of the line, switch guard to tackle. And Clark Lee is recruiting a very specific type of athlete for their system. So I will be fascinated to see if that offense can continue to operate. And part of me feels like you can replace Diego Pavia's productivity. But in removing Diego Pavia, it's cutting off the head of the snake. Because he provides something for Vanderbilt, the energy, the leadership, all of that is not easily replaceable, and certainly by a freshman quarterback. Now, Vegas has the win total for Vandy this year over under 5.5. So won 10 games a year ago. They're at 5.5. And you look at the schedule, and you can kind of see why the odds makers landed there. They open up with Austin Peay and Delaware. Okay, so they're going to open up 2-0. Then they get NC State at home. And NC State could present problems because they have a super dynamic quarterback at NC State. Look, there was a flirtation there with the transfer portal is that we discussed this offseason when LSU was looking for a quarterback because C.J. Bailey last year threw for 3,100 yards and ran for 215, but that's a guy that there was some conversation around. Ultimately stayed at NC State, but he is a dynamic player. That game is in Nashville at Vanderbilt. So they got a good shot of starting 3-0. But the road conference games are what you look at and you go, okay, where are the layups? And maybe it's just the way we're programmed because forever we've perceived Vanderbilt as the layup. Well, LSU learned a year ago and Bama learned 2 years ago. That ain't the case no more. At Auburn, at Georgia, home against Ole Miss, home against Arkansas. That's probably the game where they're going to be most heavily favored, home against Arkansas. At Kentucky, at Mississippi State. 2 winnable games, but both on the road. Bama at home, at Florida, and they finish at home against Tennessee. I think they'll beat Austin Peay and Delaware, and I think they can beat NC State. That's 3. Can you go 3-6 in the conference when you have road games against Auburn, Georgia, and Florida, and home conference games against Ole Miss, Bama, and Tennessee? That means you got to win at Kentucky, at Mississippi State, and win at home against Arkansas. You do that, you're 6-6. But 6-6 doesn't feel like what Clark Lee is after. So what type of magic does the freshman Jared Curtis have? That will be an interesting test case because I look at the SEC this year. And one thing that just being here for the last 2 days, and you talk to everybody from who covers these teams, who covers the league, the coaches, the players, and you hear them talk. I think half the league has playoff expectations. Bama, Georgia, LSU, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Texas. Those 8 programs all feel like they should be in the playoff this year. SEC ain't getting 8 in the playoff. So half of those are going to be really disappointed. But it's the teams that aren't playoff contenders that could be good. And this is the depth of the league and why a 9th conference game could be devastating for this conference and its playoff aspirations. Arkansas, Auburn, Florida, Kentucky, Mississippi State, Missouri, South Carolina, Vanderbilt. The other half of the league, it feels like any one of those teams is capable of beating someone they got no business beating. And when you're playing a 9-game league schedule, that complicates things. It complicates the math. So one of the biggest talking points this week, and justifiably so. All right, it's After Further Review. I always love telling you about Evamore, EVAMOR. I miss it, to be honest. They're very kind here. They do provide us with bottled water, but it ain't Evamore. EVAMOR, Evamore.com. Drink Evamore. You can find Evamore at great local retailers, and I know they have it in Tampa because Cobble yesterday found an Evamore truck driving around here in Tampa. He took a picture and texted it to me. But I'm telling you, it's national distribution, so no matter where you're listening or watching, go to Evamore.com, EVAMOR, Evamore.com, and hit the Find a Store tab, type in your zip code, and boom, it'll pull up the location nearest you where you can find Evamore, or you can buy it online at Evamore.com, EVAMOR, Evamore.com. Okay, y'all, it is After Further Review. Our coverage here from SEC Football Media Days presented by Parrish Construction and Roofing, Rev Fiber, Relief Windows, and FMOL Health, Our Lady of the Lake. We appreciate so much our great sponsors for making this coverage possible. We'll put a button on day 2 when we come back and give you a preview of what's coming up on day 3 here from SEC Football Media Days. Don't you move. It's AFR.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Watermark Baton Rouge and Renaissance Baton Rouge. Watermark Downtown, Renaissance Southtown. Watermark is Baton Rouge's premier hotel property. Not me saying it. You voted them best hotel in the best of 225. And you walk into Watermark Baton Rouge and you get it. It is the picture of a quintessential luxury hotel. The original Louisiana National Bank building down on the corner of 3rd and Convention. You can enter from 3rd or from Convention Street. In the lobby, you see all the beautiful marbling that they've maintained so much of that historical integrity, the artwork, the original artwork in the building, in the lobby. But they've added so many modern amenities. The lobby bar at Watermark is gorgeous. We tell you all the time about the Gregory. Awesome dining experience right there. And look, if you're worried about parking, complimentary, if you're dining at the Gregory, complimentary valet parking always when you're dining at the Gregory. Planning an event, make sure you check out Watermark Baton Rouge. Downtown, it's Watermark Baton Rouge. Love telling you about River Parish Contractors, rpcontractors.com. You know, when your next turnaround begins, when the next capital project moves from planning to execution, you know, when downtime isn't an option, who do you trust to deliver? At River Parish Contractors, they've built an organization designed for today's industrial challenges. At River Parish Contractors, they got more than 500 employees. It's incredible, the size and the growth. And they've got dedicated project management. They've got safety and quality professionals and a 32,000 square foot automated pipe and structural steel fabrication facility, 9 full-time estimators. All that to say, they have the size, the scale, the scope, the ability to manage your biggest, most complex jobs. It's River Parish Contractors, built for bigger challenges. Check them out online. Start there at rpcontractors.com, rpcontractors.com.
After Further Review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Live from the 2026 SEC Football Media Days in Tampa. Presented by FMOL Health, Our Lady of the Lake, Relief Windows, Rev Fiber, and Parrish Construction and Roofing.
Down the stretch we come. Final segment here on a Tuesday edition of AFR. Shout out to Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. So we put a button on this day where Georgia, Auburn, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt took their turn. And to be very candid, the first 2 days, they sort of eased into these first 2 days. But the heavy hitters start rolling through on Wednesday. The day starts with Kalen DeBoer, the Alabama Crimson Tide, and Florida will follow. So we'll get another first-year head coach and John Summerall. Now, of course, LSU and Alabama will play in November in Tiger Stadium. They're bringing Zabian Brown, Ryan Coleman-Williams, Ryan Williams, receiver, now goes by Ryan Coleman-Williams, hyphenated last name, and then Bray Hubbard, their fantastic DB. So no quarterback from Alabama coming on Wednesday, but Kalen DeBoer will be here. And it's such an interesting thing to have this conversation about Bama because the thing that we've talked about so much, the conversation, this event for so many years revolved around Nick Saban showing up in the circus there. Alabama's an afterthought. Maybe that's where they want to be. Maybe a little underappreciated, undervalued. but they've lost 4 games in consecutive years. I know they were 10-2 a year ago, and they won a playoff game, but they got dump trucked by Georgia in the SEC championship game and got obliterated by Indiana. They are just not a championship contender, and now they're going to be playing a young quarterback. So how do they sort through that quarterback battle with very likely Keelan Russell being the guy? So Bama, then Florida, of course, John Summerall. Jaden Ball will be here, running back from Florida who flirted with the portal, ultimately decided to stay at Florida. Or Vernell Brown will be here, Miles Graham as well. And then Pete Golding, his first media days as the head coach of the Ole Miss Rebels. And Trinidad Chambliss and Keywan Lacey will be here along with Will Eccles, their awesome defensive tackle. All of the conversation about Lane begins in earnest tomorrow because all of these Ole Miss guys will be asked about the end of the season, the turnover, why they decided to stay. I'm going to be fascinated to see what Trinidad Chambliss says to contrast it with what he said so far, because the story has continued to change quite a bit from Trinidad Chambliss as he's been asked about his decision and so forth throughout his time there at Ole Miss. So Ole Miss will begin the afternoon session, and then they'll wrap up the day with Texas A&M and Mike Elko. Marcel Reed will be here, a playoff team a season ago. Now, can they build on that? Of course, they're in College Station in advance in the playoffs with Marcel Reed back, and I just always look at Texas A&M and Mike Elko being a great defensive coach, and I just look and I say, you got the quarterback, and you got the defense. As long as Mike Elko is there, they're going to be good on defense the same way that is wherever Lane Kiffin is, they're always going to be good on offense. And I just sort of assume that to be the case. So can Marcel Reed take that step in the big games to be a great quarterback, and a reason why they win? We'll start to get those answers with Texas A&M wrapping up the day on Wednesday. So 2 days down, 2 days to go here from Radio at SEC Football Media Days. Again, sincere thanks to Our Lady of the Lake, Relief Windows, Rev Fiber, and Parish Construction and Roofing. Muse Pauly back in studio. Rivers producing here on site. We appreciate y'all for watching. You miss anything, catch AFR on demand. We'll see you tomorrow at 3.
AFR.
As we get on down the road, remind you about First South Farm Credit. Thinking of buying land, your first call should be to First South Farm Credit. Go to firstsouthfarmcredit.com. firstsouthfarmcredit.com. Y'all, we're getting close now to hunting season. Fall's almost here. And for so many people, the new year is when the phone rings a ton because you finish up hunting season, you're sharing that lease, and you're hunting on someone else's property, and you say, I'm never doing that again. I want a place of my own. And that's when a lot of that activity gets started. But maybe this is that time where you're starting to prep that hunting property, getting ready for hunting season. You're thinking about what could be next. First South Farm Credit. For more than 100 years, First South Farm Credit has done one thing: help Louisianians buy land. So if you're thinking of buying land, your first call should be to First South Farm Credit. Go to firstsouthfarmcredit.com. That's firstsouthfarmcredit.com. More than 40 branches across 3 different states that can help you buy land anywhere in the lower 48. Firstsouthfarmcredit.com.